specifically requesting advance accounts and mid-award or continuation advances on these awards which have been delayed over the past few months. The process itself leverages the existing IPASS form, which many faculty are certainly aware of, that is really managed through SPA, but it does add a few new layers to it. So first, advance requests can be made for periods of 30 or 90 days, and that's a change to traditionally advance requests are automatically considered for a 90-day period. This does add a new time period for certain advance requests that could be made. Second is that each advance request that does come in must now include a budget that covers the period of request, both for a single month, if that's what the request is limited to, up through 90 days if it's for the full period of that request period, the 90-day time. Third, each request must include a guarantee project to act as a backstop, and also include a compelling supporting documentation that shows that there is some belief that an award will be forthcoming. That level of supporting documentation could include some correspondence, say if we're a sub-awardee from a prime sponsor, that gives us an anticipated time frame for when we may expect to receive a sub-award from that entity. In cases where Columbia is the prime award recipient, it can include some correspondence with the sponsor itself, indicating that awards are delayed, but we should expect something soon once they have some clearances too. And I do want to specify too that this is not just limited to NIH, although NIH is certainly the largest sponsor at the university, and that it's the sponsor in which we've seen the most recurring issues for. But this does apply broadly across all sponsor types, in which we may have some correspondence from them that indicates that something may be forthcoming but is currently delayed for any number of reasons. And then last, and quite importantly, requests for advances now must be signed and approved by the school senior business officer and the dean or vice dean of research for that school. Traditionally, the IPASS form had a lower level or lower threshold required for signature, either say a chair or a division director. Now, because schools are directly responsible for risk that may be assumed during this period of time, it's required that the school SBO and the dean or vice dean does endorse these requests. Request, as is currently done, should be submitted to your SPA project officer, and SPA will be reviewing these requests and providing feedback as needed. Now, the reason why these new elements were included was really to ensure that schools remain thoughtful during this period of time on spending and whatever levels of risk that they're comfortable with accepting during periods in which award actions have been delayed from sponsors. As I said before, as has always been the case, spending on advance under any circumstance, whether prior to an award or during a period of mid-award advance, is always incurred at the school's own risk. And again, as I mentioned before, there was a targeted communication that did go out to select PIs that we've identified as being impacted across our federal portfolio, also to the SBOs and deans and vice deans. And then a broader communication with the new IPASS will go out to the rest of the community within the next week or so. So with this, it'll at least provide some leverage and some ability to start spending on advanced projects with the school's explicit approval. And we continue to monitor for any sort of sponsor actions we could take in order to make sure that we can start getting these awards to flow through to us. So that's the first update I wanted to provide. The next two updates are really specific to recent announcements from the NIH, and I just wanted to address this for the community, although we've sent out some additional communication to the community as well. So the first one I'll cover is on the NIH process on first-time no-cost extensions. And this was an announcement that NIH released just last week. So traditionally, NIH had allowed grantees to complete a first-time no-cost extension request themselves, and this would occur directly through the ERA Commons portal under what's known as an expanded authority. The process was straightforward. PIs and departments would submit an IPASS request to their SPA project officer, and SPA had the ability to complete a first no-cost extension for an up to 12-month period of time directly in ERA Commons. And this could be done at any time up through the last day of the project period. As long as the project was still active, SPA had the ability to submit the request. Now, effectively May 7th, when this policy was announced, NIH has disabled the ability to submit a first no-cost extension in ERA Commons, and this has effectively now become a prior approval requirement. This is not specific to Columbia. Again, this is across all grantees. So NIH did use the verbiage in their notice that this was a temporary measure, although they gave no indication for what temporary may mean or whether or not this is going to become permanent. So I don't think we can make any assumptions on this just solely being a temporary action. The new process for requesting a first no-cost extension will not be too dissimilar from the existing process for requesting a second no-cost extension, meaning that a PI in a department will still need to complete an IPASS request and send it to their SPA PO, and then SPA will then need to submit that request through ERA Commons. Importantly, and this is somewhat of a change, these requests for first no-cost must include a budget, a justification for that budget, and a brief progress report. Not a full progress report as you would normally do, at least we don't have any indication that NIH is going to be requiring a full progress report, but right now, simply a statement on what progress has been achieved since the last progress reporting period. Right now, of course, there's no indication on how long it's going to take NIH to process these requests. So we would strongly recommend that you do not delay any no-cost extension request you think you may need. We have the ability to start processing any no-cost extension request, first or second, starting 90 days prior to a project period end date. So if you're at that time point now, we would encourage you to start working on this as soon as you can if you're anticipating needing a no-cost extension. I would expect that any delayed request could lead to a lapse in the project and also may lead NIH not to approve these requests at all. One of the rationales for NIH doing this is that they've stated that they're reevaluating all awards in order to ensure that they're in compliance with agency priorities. So that is going to be sort of the new process going forward for first time no cost extensions. Again, it's not clear whether or not this is truly going to be temporary or if this is going to be a permanent measure from NIH. To mention briefly for other agencies that may have had first no cost extension authorities, an example for National Science Foundation, we've not yet heard any impact to those agencies. As of right now, everything is still business as usual for what we can expect, but that's solely as of right now. Things could change, and of course, things have been changing quite rapidly on a day-to-day basis that we've seen from certain sponsors. So that's covering the first time no cost extensions. The second important...
Bill, I'm going to interrupt you and remind the audience to please put your questions in the Q&A and not the chat, because we are not monitoring the chat. Thank you. Sorry, Bill.
No worries. Thank you. The second policy update important from NIH that I'm going to mention is on foreign subawards, and this was just released on May 1st. I believe shortly thereafter, there was a notice that did go out to researchers as well, sort of to summarize some of the key policy points. But just to reiterate them here, so NIH issued this new policy that is effectively prohibiting grantees from including foreign subawardees in their grants. The new policy does make reference to a planned new structure whereby domestic prime awardees could be allowed to have foreign collaborators that are linked to their prime award, but NIH would be making independent direct awards to these foreign sites. Conceptually, it seems like it may be similar to some collaborative proposal types that some other sponsors may have, including NIH in some limited circumstances, but NSF is another example. But as of right now, there are still a lot of details that are not yet available from NIH. They did state that they planned to have this new structure in place by September 30th, but they haven't released any other additional details as of yet, or FAQs. The guide notice itself did include some inconsistencies, a number of different areas for one, but importantly on how foreign components, either with or without funds, would be treated. And so far, we've heard some different messages from individual program staff at NIH, and it makes it difficult to reconcile because there's not policies that are actually confirming or refuting some of the things that we're hearing from NIH. But there has been some very minimal initial outreach from NIH POs that under their portfolios did include foreign subawardees. Certainly not the entire population yet, though. The notice that NIH released does say that foreign consultants and foreign vendors and service providers would remain allowable. So there's not any expected change there as of right now. The effective date for the policy is effectively immediately. Now, new renewal and non-competing notice of awards will not be issued by NIH if the project does include a foreign subawardee. What NIH will instead be doing for any of those impacted projects is to reach out to grantees to renegotiate awards to move previously foreign-based subaward work to domestic sites, or to allow for budgeting of those funds out of the foreign subaward collaboration. If NIH does find that a project is not viable without a foreign subaward, they may then seek to terminate a project, but they'll at least give grantees, from what we understand from the notice, an ability and a chance to renegotiate that award rather than making that unilateral decision themselves. Now, I've sort of been providing advice to different people that have been asking me and trying to separate this out into 3 different buckets as I've been thinking about it and what projects could be impacted. And just to cover them sort of briefly here, although I know it's going to be highly variable depending upon individual circumstances. The first bucket I've been considering are proposals that have been submitted and that are pending review, that had included a foreign subaward. Now, for these, we're led to believe that NIH will not automatically be pulling those applications from the review cycle. If proposals are moving forward, they've indicated that they'll give us, again, the chance to renegotiate prior proposal prior to issuing an award. So for those PIs, and I'll reiterate this throughout, if you've had a foreign collaboration and a foreign sub as part of your project, you need to start thinking now about what your project may look like without that foreign sub, and how work could be potentially moved to domestic entities. Now, so that's one bucket. For another bucket, for active grants that you have, again, just restating what's included in the policy, non-competing cycles will not be issued if a foreign sub is included. That doesn't mean you have to, if you do have an active project right now, you have to move your sub now, but you need to start thinking about it right now, anticipating what's going to happen when you have to submit your progress report and when you're going to be anticipating a Type 5 continuation project to come through. I'd encourage you to start reaching out to your program officer as soon as you can, if you haven't already, to start discussing what scenarios might be in place, and also what work you may be able to move out of those foreign sites to domestic sites. Now, so that's the second bucket. The third bucket are proposals that you're planning right now. And again, if you've been planning a proposal,